and that's a very small minority here indeed.
So when the parents start seeing this change, they will
They
accept
see
it
the
anyway.
results, and of course you have to closely engage them. Sadly, here we have not been able to evolve a culture of parental participation in very productive ways, of volunteerism, for example. Very committed volunteerism.
I think the bottom line is that everybody has to have an open mind about, you know, adapting and adopting different ideas and styles, methods of teaching and learning as well. Dr. Rafia, you really made your point very clear, and that I think leaves us with a good, you know, new, fresh perspective for our viewers as well to think of alternative ways of learning, teaching. And I'm going to put up, you know, learning pathways. I'm going to put that up on our Facebook page as well, so people can go through it and, you know, just take ideas. Let's see. I don't know when people will start accepting it.
It's a long journey, but baby steps.
But you are doing a good job. Thank you very much, Dr. Rafia, for coming here and discussing this with us. We are going to take a very short break. Here you are, and yeah, we'll catch you on the other side. Welcome back. Okay, I was wondering that you guys have not written to me so far and told me about your summer vacations. I know, you know, people are going back to schools and stuff, but nobody has written to me and told me where they went this summer. So you have to do that. Do not forget to do that. Send me an email on our email address, which will be flashing on the screens anytime soon. Now, after the agonizing wait for tech junkies, the moment finally came for their latest fix, but it was not without a tinge of sadness as well as some disappointment. Apple Incorporated announced the release of a new iPhone yesterday at its first major product event in years without Steve Jobs presiding. Alas, it wasn't what fans had been waiting for. Instead of an iPhone 5, it was iPhone 4S that was launched. And Apple says the iPhone 4S will run faster and has new mobile software that can sync content wirelessly without having to plug an iPhone to a Mac or Windows machine. Also, the new iPhone 4S has an improved camera with a high-resolution sensor. There had been speculation that Apple would reveal a more radical revision of the phone, an iPhone 5, but it was clear the company had not wowed the world as expected. Apple's stock fell $11.76 or 3.1% in afternoon trading on Tuesday. And talk about hard to please, seriously. People want more. So that is one thing that people were waiting for, didn't get it. Just when you think this woman has done enough wonders, she heartwarmingly surprises us once again. The beautiful Angelina Jolie, who has been a goodwill ambassador for the UNHCR for 10 years now, looks set to become more involved in working with the organization, and her new role has not been finalized yet, and she declined to name specific countries. However, UNHCR sources say they expected her to be named special representative on the Afghan refugee situation. And this position will help resolve the fate of 2.7 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan and Iran. And at the UNHCR annual meeting in Geneva, the Oscar-winning Jolie said refugees whom she had met during her 40 field missions in hotspots from Pakistan to Kenya were among the most vulnerable and yet the most resilient people in the world. That is true. I do agree with her, and I think that you can expect to see Jolie in Pakistan as well anytime soon if she takes up this responsibility. Now they are using their larger-than-life star power, and here they are using it right. George Clooney, Colin Farrell and Bono have joined a host of other celebrities for a new commercial that calls for an end to famine in Africa. Now created by anti-poverty group One, the commercial features the stars appearing as if they are screaming a profanity, and Bono then appears on screen to say famine is the real obscenity. Can we hear it? Now, one hopes the commercial can focus the world's attention on the famine and food crisis in the Horn of Africa, and more than 13 million people face severe hunger across East Africa. Now, Somalia is at the epicenter of the crisis, with 750,000 people facing imminent starvation. For some unintended profanity, we could not, listen to it. You couldn't hear it, but do go online and check this out. It's interesting. Now, foreign doctors who cannot speak English are to be banned from working in NHS hospitals and clinics in the United Kingdom. Now, the NHS will introduce mandatory language tests for doctors moving to Britain after training elsewhere in the European Union. The decision follows a series of cases in which patients have died or suffered poor care as a result of doctors speaking substandard English. I can imagine, actually. Now, the issue was brought to national attention 3 years ago when Dr. Daniel Ubani, a German-trained GP, killed David Gray, 70-year-old David Gray, by giving him 10 times the normal dose of diamorphine. And there are more than 88,000 foreign-trained doctors registered to work in Britain, including 22,758 from Europe alone, and they account for almost a third of the total. You know, I can totally relate to that, or not relate to that, but imagine that, because if Pakistan, most of the doctors spoke only English and no Urdu, there would be a bit of a problem, because the larger chunk of the population speaks Urdu only, and doctors and patients have that kind of a relationship where they have to understand perfectly what is going on, what the issue is and what the treatment is. Oh well, okay, enough with me. Now, a huge hole that appeared in the Earth's protective ozone layer above the Arctic this year is the largest recorded in the Northern Hemisphere. Thankfully, though, the sudden appearance of the hole was not due to man-made causes. The ozone layer high in the stratosphere acts like a giant shield against the sun's ultraviolet radiation, which can cause skin cancer and cataracts. And since the 1980s, scientists have charted the size of the ozone hole every summer above the Antarctic, and during extreme events, up to 70% of the ozone layer can be destroyed before it recovers months later. Now, the hole above the Arctic was always much smaller until March this year, when a combination of powerful wind patterns and intense cold temperatures high up in the atmosphere created ozone-eating chlorine chemicals. So this one is not because of our fault. Yeah, no fault of ours, thankfully. Now, it's your Harry Potter fantasy coming to life. Think about an invisibility cloak that mimics the natural phenomenon of the mirage effect. Scientists from the University of Dallas, Texas, have used nanotechnology to create a cloaking device that replicates the peculiar effect seen in deserts and on long roads. It is an optical occurrence in which light rays are bent to produce a displaced image of distant objects or the sky. And just like a mirage, scientists can steep the temperature gradient, causing light rays to bend away from the object concealed behind the device, making it appear invisible. But enough with the mumbo jumbo. For the world's spy agencies, this technology could be a boon, although its full range of practical applications remain to be seen. And I'm sure there are so many amongst us who would really like to have something like that. Why not? I would pay for it. A lot of money. Now, this next story will tell you about a real-life princess and the pea. This is really interesting. A British woman has a rear so sensitive that a hotel chain has hired her to test the comfort and qualities of beds for lumps. Can you imagine that? Now, Natalie Thomas, who can spend up to 8 hours per day bouncing on beds, says her rear is so sensitive that it helps her detecting lumps and inconsistencies. There she is. And a valuable asset. She is now having her bottom insured for $4 million and charged with leading a team to ensure the quality of 46,000 Premier Inn beds the 39-year-old from Bedfordshire, what an apt name, has been given the job title Director of Bed Bouncing, and Natalie and her team test on average 884 beds a week, around 177 a day, taking up to 20 minutes on each bed, and they check for lumps, bumps, rips, tears, stains and faulty beds or mattresses, and they are removed that day. She has a great job, don't you think? Now, the world definitely needs comedy like never before, we know that, and for seasoned performers like Flubber, having a laugh is a serious business. With his red-nose routine, Martin D'Souza as Flubber is certain that laughter is one of the best forms of therapy. And D'Souza is a former advertising copywriter, and he's the organizer of the International Clown Festival in Mumbai, now in its second year. You can see him there. And the festival features pantomime, jugglers, magicians and balloon sculptors, all in the name of having fun and spreading a bit of sunshine. And a special show for underprivileged street children in the Indian city was held in support of Childline, a children's charity. And there's no mistaking the joy that the clowns bring to these young lives, many of them blighted by poverty and neglect. I think we need more comedians in Pakistan. We absolutely do. And I mean, you know, stand-up comedians is one thing, but actually with actions and stuff, I don't know, what do you call them? Oh well, I will tell you when I recall what to call them. Anyway, let's move on to the quotation for the day. We have one which is really interesting, and yeah, it will touch a lot of people. I'm very sure about that. So on your screens very soon, this is by Khalil Gibran. This is how we pronounce it. And ever has it been known that love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation. Yeah. Very interesting. I'm sure, as I said earlier, a lot of people, it's going to really hit them, you know. That is the true moment when you really know how much you love the other person. Word of the day for you now. Here? Yeah, sure. Okay, this is an interesting word, again one of those words that are very usable if you get the hang of it, and you have to remember it. So you know, whenever we give you a word, do write it down. You can write it in your mobile if you are just in a hurry, and use it throughout the day. Please roll drums. And the word of the day is nebulous. Nebulous is the word. Nebulous means lacking definite form, vague, hazy. And we have the sentence for you as well. Now this is the example. The memory of my first day at school is nebulous. I think a lot of people say that, so it's not just for me. And their definition of women's rights is nebulous, vague. Yeah, a lot of people actually, a lot of people's definition of women's rights is nebulous. So there you have it. That is the word. Use it. Don't abuse it. Use it nicely. Okay, now. Whether you are a recent grad or a career changer, there is a common catch-22 that comes with embarking on a new occupation. You can't get a job without experience, but you can't get experience without a job. Now what to do? Well, the trick to overcoming this dilemma is preparation. Here I'm leaving you with some key pointers. Firstly, evaluate yourself truthfully. Secondly, stay current with the trends. Thirdly, do your homework or research the company you want to get into and identify the specific requirements for the position in which you are interested. And finally, donate your time. And by this, I mean work for free. You'd be surprised how many companies are more than happy to accept free labor. So, and above all, by the way, believe me when I say this, to prospective employers, confidence translates into readiness for the job. I hope you took pointers there. All right, enough for today. Catch you tomorrow and seize today.
Thank you.